911, what's your emergency?
The following content is graphic, emotional, includes dark humor that may not be suitable for all listeners. Discretion is advised. These stories are based on real-life EMS, military, and healthcare experiences. Calls are real, providers are real, names and details have been changed to protect privacy. They may be disturbing to some and are definitely inappropriate for HR department. Any medical or mental health discussion is personal experience, not protocol. Use your damn brain. Follow your local guidelines, and when in doubt, call med control. If you're struggling, don't do it alone. Talk to someone, a coworker, a friend, a therapist, or hell, reach out to me. I'll answer. Need help right now? Text or call 988 or visit 988lifeline.org.
These things, it's like my whole logic on these episodes are it's going to be unfiltered, it's going to be true, it's going to be unedited, and that's how I prefer to do these episodes. Is to me that makes it more unique and more emotional and able to be connected to in the end.
And just so real, hey?
Right.
I've done a lot of podcasts, and I was on one yesterday actually called Life After 40 with an awesome dude that he just sort of focused on that period, and he was asking me questions about that period in my life and like what the awakening and what the hardest parts were and all these things. And I'm like, it was so awesome because I've been on so many podcasts where it's like, tell me about your upbringing, what was the hard thing, and then what brought, all of
Right.
this, which is great, and I appreciate that, and I know there's value in it, but I like having these kinds of conversations and just seeing what's real and where it goes naturally,
Very true. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Welcome back to Distraction Dysfunctional. This one feels important to me because I think a lot of listeners are going to hear parts of themselves in this conversation and maybe realize they're actually not crazy. And they're definitely not alone. Today's guest is Trevor Stevenson. But before titles, bios, coaching, leadership, any of that internet stuff that you got, who are you and what made this conversation worth saying yes to today?
Well, you accepting it was big because I reached out to you because I feel it's such an important one. Maybe I'll start with the relationship to this is, my brother's a lifelong firefighter. He's a captain now, right out of high school. Actually, it was in high school. He did his co-op placement in our small town fire department.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I know there's stuff he carries that I'm proud to be able to have conversations with him about. And a lot of the guys I went through, guys, girls, went through school with as well, ended up being police officers. My wife and I own a leadership development firm, and so we have done this deeper work, and our work isn't your standard stuff. It really goes to the core of what's going on for you, what's creating your own personal trauma or having you relive the traumas that you've experienced. And we've worked with fire departments, healthcare, hundreds of nurses, and there's just a lot of people around me that I care deeply for, that I know the compound effect of the work you all do is much more than the norm. And so I guess to answer your first question of who I am, I'm a lifelong learner that I'm my own petri dish. I'm number one study here about how my conditioned patterns keep me from being the person that I want to be in the world, and what's the ripple effect of that, and then what it is that I can learn and shift and evolve into, and then share. Really, it's why I love being on shows like yours, Chris, that the word is getting out that, as you said, you're not crazy and you're definitely not alone.
This is the truth. And I hate to say it, I did feel crazy for the longest time, and I did feel alone until I actually started talking to guests like yourself, and actually getting the help I needed in the end was more important. But the ability to talk to people, as we were talking about before the show, is the amount of people I've had on the show that I've talked to, and the experiences they were able to share with me has helped me and helped a lot of my own guests delve into their own realities and help them heal in the end. And I think the job that we do, it does reward us for being emotionally suppressed, pretty much in a way. The dependable people, the ones who never complain, We never call out. We never really just slow down. We're always go, 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 go. Everyone always praises us and says that's awesome. You're doing it. You're doing it. You're doing it. Meanwhile, a lot of us are dying inside. We don't know how to reach out to get the help. We don't know what the hell we're going through in the end. Reading your form you put, it looked like you did grow up in a culture where they taught you, confidence and capability, but not necessarily the self-awareness or emotional connection. So when you did that at a younger age, I guess, when you were growing up, how can you walk me through that? How did you learn to progress in the end?
Yeah, it was after leaving that environment that, as you're describing, it doesn't reward emotional sensitivity, not the family environment and not the home small town upbringing. And so number one was to leave the environment. Um, I wasn't at an awareness stage as an adult, as a practitioner, where I was capable or interested in shaping the environment. I was a product of it. And so my courageous act was to leave and follow my heart and start doing the things that I love and meeting new people, new cultures, learning new ideas, started reading all the books, starting from, the sort of uh, infant and infinite level of, Way of the Peaceful Warrior and Jonathan Livingston Seagull and these great fables, that talk about the power of the mind and all that we can be. And I traveled the world for a decade and started guiding.
That's
And
cool.
yeah, and I started interacting with a lot of people who were either traveling like I was and trying to understand themselves and who they want to be in the world and just being able to make it up, or people that were kind of escaping for a couple of weeks and having conversations about them, about what drives them to keep doing that then, if it's not something that inspires and empowers them. And so I started coaching, campfire coaching, at a young age, and then it naturally became this business that now is 21 years old. Um, and I think just my own journey has facilitated that curiosity and that learning journey.
That's actually pretty cool, especially like you said, 21 years. That's quite a time for a coaching business to be alive and thriving.
Yeah.
The a couple of the coaches I've talked to before, they last 5-10 years and they got to start another practice, or God forbid, they just say screw it. To me, things like that in the end is when we're truly emotionally attached to our jobs, like we should be and are in the first responder field and your field as well. It makes a difference. It does make it grow better. It does make you grow into a better provider, a better practitioner, and that also helps eat away at us in the end, because we do put more of ourselves on the line and kind of become more of a easy attacked
Mm.
prey in the end, in my opinion.
Mm. Yeah, I
They,
was thinking about that, as a mentally to arrive at this conversation, and even as you're describing here, Chris, like you can't freak out,
yep.
or you can't say no, this is too much blood, you know, too much trauma, too much death, whatever is going on, too much violence. You all can't say that, and but it is absorbed in the body in some way, and then must be, and if it's not synthesized out, if it's not, if it hasn't been worked out in some way consciously, then it piles up, right? And like you say, if the norm is that we don't talk about it, then that's where the harm is really done.
Yeah, keeping it in is a lot worse than, God forbid, someone making fun of you. Um, that does happen a lot in our field. At first, I was one of the bullies, and I didn't think about it because I've only been in EMS 10 years. Yep, I've only been in EMS 10 years, and a bunch of the guys I worked with were a bunch of the old timers. They were always, "Oh, it's cool, just brush it off. Don't worry about it. We don't talk about it anymore."
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So a bunch of the other newer people came in and I was training them, and I was like, hey, you're just a freaking pansy. You can't do this. Just get out of work. And then I started realizing years into it that I was being a dick, and it wasn't the way it should have been. The way it should have been is, all right, you're new. Tell me how you're feeling. Tell me what's going on. Why do you think you feel this way? And start giving them some of the reasons. When I got into it, one of my very first calls was holding a dead 3-month-old in my hands, and it stays with you. Of course, it does, but if you don't talk about it, it stays longer, and it dwells, and it builds, and it turns into a snowball effect from hell.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to metabolize it in some way. Absolutely. And I think of my upbringing similarly. Like I was that dick also. It was like I was the tough guy and, the macho guy and making fun of the other guys. But at the root of that was just my own insecurities and looking for acceptance and belonging, and which leads then back to the family upbringing and the youngest of six and whatever, blah, blah, blah,
Family.
Yeah. And so it's all what it was. And we have to have that forgiveness of self, and I hope you've done that, because we were just acting out all that we knew, all the tools that we had in that time, right? And if we knew better, hopefully we would have done better, and we know better now, and we are doing better.
Very true. So why do you think it is that we seem to praise people like that, or keep egging it on, or allowing it to happen, I should say?
It all comes from that same sense of acceptance, Chris. Dr. Gabor Mate talks about this a lot. He has some really great books that your audience, I think, would appreciate. The Myth of Normal, The Body Keeps Score. I can't think of his other ones right now, but he also just has a lot of stuff online, does a lot of podcasts and interviews and things. And he talks about acceptance versus authenticity. So if we were being authentic and we saw that, because most often we don't, like if we have evolved to any extent, we don't think that's funny. We don't think that's right or just, but we don't have the courage or the confidence to say it. And so that is the amygdala response of fawning, right? We know fight or flight that we talk about.
Right.
Much the fawning is like, oh, you're great. Yeah, that's funny. You're so cool. And that is because we see that person in some way has something that we consider superior. They have attention. We long for that. So we long for their attention. And that started all the way back from birth, where if we got that little spoon to our mouth with the Cheerios on it, then oh my gosh, look at my baby, you're so smart, you're so capable. But if we were upset and we threw the Cheerios, then it's like, no, bad, stop, right? And which one does our innate response move toward? Well, they move towards acceptance. And so we start to do things more and more toward acceptance. And then there's situations that lead more towards like the throwing the cereal, because that is a form of attention as well that some people get because they can't do anything right,
Huh.
and so kind of screw it. And then those people move into more maladaptive strategies of crime and violence and all these things that happen. But at the root of it, so much of it is about this acceptance versus authenticity. And they think, if I show my true self, if I'm crying like you at work, if I'm crying, people are going to make fun of me.
Right.
That started on the school ground. That started in our homes.
Very true.
So we move more and more towards acceptance and doing things that we think will impress others. And we do it then for grades, and we do it with our looks, and then we do it to attract our first partner. And then we do it in the workplace, right? We put on these masks and no, of course I'll stay late. Yeah, I'd be happy to do it. No, I'm missing my daughter's dance recital. I'm skipping my yoga practice again, whatever. Right. So we move towards acceptance versus authenticity of what's actually going on. And so the practice of authenticity is such an important thing for us to grow into.
Yeah, I've never heard it put that way, especially as you said, the fawning. I've never heard it called that before. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
And you're right. I think we all strive to be wanted in the end, I guess you could say, and that kind of helps build on the bullying and what have you. Because he's being a dick, I'll be a dick,
Yeah.
and
We
the
fit in then, right? We fit
right.
in with the cool crowd. We don't
Yep.
want to be the guy getting bullied. So what are my choices here?
Very true.
If I put up my hand and say, "Hey, Dick, you're being a dick," what's going to happen?
They're gonna make fun of you.
Right? That doesn't feel good. The thought of it. Yeah. Yeah. What a world we live in. And that's only like friggin' look at it now with the internet, right? And social
Oh
media,
God.
right? So it's
So most of us, actually, I have it written down as most responders don't collapse overnight, but honestly, humans don't just collapse overnight. It's a process all within itself, and it grows and it builds, and they slowly normalize the exhaustion, the numbness, the irritability, the emotional shutdown. I was there a few times, and they become distant to their loved ones just because they don't know how to get it out. They don't know how to uh, make themselves better. If you noticed something like that in one of your clients, how would you go about helping them, like, understand, hey, this is what's going on. This is what you should be doing. How about we fix it this way?
yeah, it always starts with the self. Also in consideration of our conversation, I looked up the rates of divorce, disease, suicide in first responders versus the rest of the population.
Oh yeah.
All way above, right? So it's part of the culture, but it's part of the who I am as well. When you think of first responders, what's their job? It's not that I'm responding to myself first. It's I'm responding to somebody else first.
Yeah.
I have another poem that I wrote for that nurses. The last thing we did with a big crew at a local hospital here, and it was about that, how I'm serving everybody's needs before my own, and that my myself is crying out for that attention. And that is the self-empathy part, again, that so few of us learned. Empathy in general, but it has to start with empathy. And that was my journey. That's what my coach beat into me. It's like, Trevor, get out of your head. What are you feeling? Go into your heart. And that is it, Chris. Where I coach all people first. If we look at any situation, whether it's work or just the thoughts in my head or a conversation with my spouse or stuff going on between me and the kids, we have to work on that connection to self, understanding my reactivity to the thing that just happened or my reflection of the thing that just happened. It wasn't, it wasn't holding the 3-month-old lifeless child. It was like all my thoughts about it that hurt and continue to hurt, right? So it's what we make meaning of in our mind. And for better or for worse, one of the few things we have control over is our thinking and how we choose to act. And so the best thing that we can do is recognize that foremost, we need to pause and take care of ourselves. That, again, the amygdala hijack, fight, flight, fawn, freeze, faint, any of those are the amygdalas, like our reptilian brain's natural order to take care of us, but it doesn't know the difference between a life-threatening event or just like my phone dinging at 4:30 with the boss saying I need to stay late. Like, we get that same, like, dump the cortisol and adrenaline that's going to have you, lift that car off someone's leg, or dump the same emotional cocktail into our body just because I know now I'm going to miss my daughter's dance recital. We get the same stress response in the body physiologically. And that then, as us age, creates disease. And like you were saying, it doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
It's drip, 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 drip. When that is our all day long, we're having threat responses to our thinking about the situations. Oh, I don't want to go to work. I know I got all this stuff and I can't talk about it, and they're going to make fun of me if I do. And there's like these thoughts, right? And or I go into work and I know there's going to be some other just shitstorm going on. It's like, and it's like, so I have to go inward and recognize when I'm in a threat state and calm my sympathetic parasympathetic nervous system through the breath or through exercise or through we can reach for different strategies once we know the need that we have is just to calm down and settle.
That's wow. That's a lot at once, but yeah, I like it. And I don't think we understand how to release it properly, as you were saying pretty much a minute ago. Is we hold it all in, and instead of releasing it, we just let it build, and that is it's something that causes the damage onto us. We hold on to it. It's not just. And it doesn't cause it just to us. It causes it to people around us. And I know you even said that on your intake form as well. And man, the EMS, law enforcement, fire, we are professionals about it, and we do stuff it down professionally, I should say, I guess, in a way. But that stuffing it down causes the anger, the isolation, the bad habits of drinking, illicit drugs, the withdrawal, and even really blowing up at our spouses and loved ones, or hell, even our pardon my language, even the fucking partners on the truck, because we deal with them more than we deal with our family. And I don't. And as you said earlier, the stats for us are way up there, and I think that is a reason is because we don't know how to properly take down our shields or talk to people, and that cost a lot of people personally their lives, their happiness, how we all feel about it in the end. And I don't know really where I was going with that in the end, but
Well, I'm curious if I could turn the table here. Like, how do your colleagues receive what you're doing here with this show? Or like, do you have that courage now to like live this out in the EMS world? And like say, God, that was really scary what we just went through. How you feel about it? Or that was really stressful. What's going on for you? How is that received by your colleagues now?
now, most of my colleagues actually listen to my show, and they are coming around to it. And it's actually starting to build, to me, the more that the crews are able to talk to each other about that, it builds a stronger bond. It builds a stronger sense of trust between the crews. Uh, and that, to me, is bigger than being able to talk about it, because without a stronger crew, you're not able to properly adjust, overcome, adapt, if you will. The other day I actually noticed something about a buddy of mine, one of my coworkers, and I wound up calling him the next day because he was freaked out, and I wanted to be able to give him a little bit of time to cope with it, understand it, and I called him, checked on him, just because of the fact of you need to trust your crews that you're with, that you can tell them anything, you can talk to them, and that is the biggest thing to me. I don't know how to get people to understand more that, when you become more reactive, you don't detach, you don't become more numb, you actually start healing. If you keep it in, you detach, you become numb, you stress your relationships out, you cause your family to notice things about you that you don't even notice. And I'm sure you've actually seen that in your side of work as well. I'm sure you deal with the families as well, and their words and actions are probably just as important as your client.
Yeah, that's it. And we've also grown up in a culture, Chris, where like it's so easy to not accept that response. It's like, and then it becomes a hierarchical thing. You know, obviously it's still quite a male dominated, these fields that we're describing, right? And so we kind of can pull the patriarchy card as well and say, don't talk back to me, or think that we're right, and that, you know, and again, you live in a command and control environment, which is necessary for people's survival. And so how do you now turn that off when your kid is, you know, talking back to you, air quotes for those who are just listening. And I was on that show yesterday, and like how that has been one of the hardest things to receive, but almost also one of the greatest teachers. Like when a child will have a real conversation with us about how they received my parenting, you know? And so, yeah, to be able to, for me to be able to hear it, but I don't need to hear it. It's dad who needs to be able to hear it, you know, or mom.
And you know, I've seen it. I've worked offshore. I've worked on land as a medic. You know, honestly, the guys that I've worked with have been absolute machines when they work. They're calm in the chaos when I need them to be calm in the chaos. Everybody trusts them. I've worked with captains. I've worked with offshore installation managers that have been the damnedest people I've ever met in my life. They could turn a switch in their head in a fucking instant, and they could be joking with you, and the next minute they're like a Marine Corps sergeant. You know, it's funny. And the sad thing is, one of the guys I worked with, he did end up killing himself offshore. And I think that is because he didn't know how to get it out. You know, we all go home, we get and sit in the silence, we sit in our driveways, just because we don't know how to transition back. And that's not just first response. You know, don't get me wrong, if anyone's listening that's not in first response. But as you said earlier, Trevor, is our stats are way up there. And that is another mechanism to me that stops that from coming down, is we don't know how to properly rely on ourselves to go back to being a normal person. We're always in that, you know, life or death situation in our own heads, and we always live it 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, compound effect, right? You've got that, and our lack of education around emotional intelligence and conscious
Yeah,
communication, right?
that right there, I think is 100% true too. And the whole the whole psychology behind it is interesting to me. On that, it is we we seem to be trained on psychology, but I don't think that they could delve into it 100% with everybody because of how vast it is, how much it can change. Um, and again, that's why everyone has their own specialties. But uh, you know, a lot of it is burnout in the end, I think. And that starts to cause the irritability, numbness, emotional distancing, functioning without the joy of your job. Uh, I love my job, and about 2 3 years ago, I was dreading going to work every day. You know, I love it now, but I found a way to release what I need to release.
Yeah. Have you shared that with your audience? What
I
that is?
have.
Yeah. Is that
This has been my way of releasing things here. Is this podcast?
uh,
You know, you got to find a hobby. You got to find something outside of your normal everyday life that will give you joy. Will be able to help you learn, to delve into further experiences. You know, I have a former partner of mine who he was actually a very famous TikTok star at one point, and that started causing him more issues because he enjoyed it at first, and it started becoming a job. He hated it. It
mm,
started making him hate work because he couldn't do it at work. He started hating it at home because it was always, I have to do this now. I have to do this way. And ever since he left TikTok, he has been, now he's mountain climbing. He's doing CrossFit. He's doing all kinds of crap, and it's amazing to see him grow like that.
Yeah.
We should all challenge this thing we were talking about, the whole suck it up and power through culture. Honestly, the first response culture says we care about the mental health now, but I don't think a lot of people are actually opening up about it. Like we said earlier, they feel like they're going to get judged. They feel like they're going to get sidelined, or oh well, you may not be able to be working on the truck today, or you may not be able to respond to calls today. Hell, even police officers. I've been talking to a few of them lately, and they're scared of saying it out loud because, oh well, I shot this guy, and now I feel bad about it. That's a natural occurring reaction you should have.
Yeah.
Just because that is part of your job does not mean that is how you need to live. And so where I'm going with this is, why are we still so bad at talking about it honestly? Why are we so bad about opening up about it, in your opinion? I know we kind of covered a little bit of it earlier, but
Yeah, and so I'll guide us right back there. It's the acceptance versus
right,
authenticity. It's that we were born into judgment. Oh, you're such a cute baby, or the grades you got are so good. Oh, look, you got another award at soccer, and then the literal grading system, the pass, fail, the A, B, C, and the judgment, and again, just the exponential pace of how judgment evolves with social media now, and especially for our young people, right? It's always a comparison, and so that judgment is huge within us, and so when we're afraid of speaking, which is again the root of what you were just describing, Chris, my fear of saying what is going on for me. Well, number one, I don't think I have the right language, so it's going to be all like blah, and I might cry and blah blah blah. But the real, like, what's behind that is a fear of judgment,
yeah,
which is real, right?
very much.
An interesting twist on that I'll challenge your guests with is, I am actually judging you, thinking that you will judge me. And so if we can hold on to that one and say we're the one judging, thinking that if I tell Chris that I'm having a hard time, or that my wife and I are going through this thing, I'm judging you, saying Chris won't understand it, or Chris will say, I don't worry about it, suck it up, or oh, you'll be okay. And so I'm thinking that you are going to think badly or judge me. And so it just takes this courage, just a second of courage. And so, and you all live on courage. And so and it's funny, like, again, dudes especially will jump off anything, jump into anything, like whatever, but have a real conversation,
Ain't happening.
scares the hell out of us. And so it's that moment of courage, again, whether it's our wife or our child or our boss or our colleague. It's like, can I just own something, like share something real and authentic? It might be not come out the right way, but what it will do is open something up that, if I'm willing to kind of stand in that fire and keep going and saying, sorry, I saw your reaction, I didn't mean it that way, but I just, and fumble our way through, we're progressing. So it's that moment of courage to, like, let go of our judgment of the other person, thinking they're going to judge us. Get ready for the shitstorm that might come when we actually say it, and stick with it so that we can grow beyond it, that we can evolve. Then things will actually change. Someone has to go first, right? It's what you're doing here, Chris, and you described it in the culture, the crew, the team around you. You're seeing a shift. Someone has to go first. I would love to work more in this space with the different departments and stuff, just because trust me, they're like, guys will talk to me all the time. They
Right.
do what I do. They'll come and they'll talk to me, and I'm like, dude, come join Fundamental. Come join this men's community. Oh, no. I'll talk to you. I couldn't talk to anyone else about this. I'm like, that's what everybody says, man. And then you get in there on like call one and just sit back and listen. I was like, oh, Oh, yeah, me too. Oh, let me tell you what's going on for me, and right away we're in because we see we're all going through the same shit, man. And we're all like raised in a similar type of culture that's judgmental, that we move towards acceptance. And we were never given that course in school about emotional intelligence or communication, authentic communication. And so here we are, so
Yeah.
second.
I've never thought about it put that way, like you just put it. Is the reverse thought of the judgment either? Is we are actually doing that to ourselves, and that's, I don't know why I just realized that when you said it that way, but that's something that I think internally we're not processing properly. Is what if they don't judge me? That was a very good point you made.
What's the best
That
case scenario?
yeah. What's the best case scenario? Don't always go to the worst case scenario. You
Uh-huh.
know, and one thing you said hit me hard is the people closest to me feel it the most, and that's the part of the job that doesn't prepare us for it. Our families end up absorbing stress they don't create. So talk to me about that one too, if you don't mind. I know it pretty much delves back to what we just talked about, but
Yeah, yes, and like it's really, and you kind of touched on it earlier, Chris, but it's that ripple effect. We can't hide the stuff that's alive inside of us. We talk about pushing it down.
yep,
It's there somewhere. Like you said, if you don't have an avenue, a channel, whether it's through a hobby or fitness or whatever, a healthy outlet for these things, it just lives on in us. But then even with all of those things, I could have the biggest train set in the world, and it doesn't necessarily help me with my wife saying I'm not emotionally available for a conversation. You know, um, so that stuff that lives within us is felt by those around us. My kids will come in off the school bus. I don't need to say anything. They feel my energy the second they come through that door, and they respond accordingly. They like shy away or walking on eggshells, or they're like, "Hey, Dad, what's up?" Um, and so I think that's the important aspect of it, is that our energy precedes us, and it's felt by those around us. And over the long term, that is your legacy. And so we ask ourselves, what do we
yep,
want our legacy to be with those we love the most? We want to be known as that crusty, angry, uh, silent, unavailable, too busy, whatever, dad or mom? Or do we want to be that maybe a little bit messy, but authentic, real, available, caring, empathetic, honest person, and that evolves. And I think that's been my thing, right? Is like I was the former, and I continue to work towards the latter. To I don't always get it right, but I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to come back and apologize for, or say that, let it know that came out wrong, or I didn't mean it. I shouldn't have come with that tone. But here's what was real to me, and do it. And our kids are an example of that now, having a higher emotional intelligence, being able to not feel that judgment of others. And that, again, they're about as perfect as I am, which is a long way from perfect. Um,
ain't none of us perfect.
my wife always says, "I'll be perfect when I'm dead." Um, and so I think that is the biggest thing that pushes people away, is our inability, not our inability, our unwillingness to work on it. And a lot of women will talk to me about that and say, I tried to support my husband to come along, to talk, to encourage him to be open and share, especially first responders, right? They know what's going on for you guys. They know there's a whole shit storm going on out there, right? And they want you to be
They
able,
notice it before we do.
right? They want you to be able to share and not carry the weight of it, because they feel the weight of it, right? And then they encourage, and then they say, well, and then I like started pushing and like bitching at them to like change or get help or to talk to someone, and it still wouldn't change. And I realized I didn't want to be that person. I don't want to be bitchy. And so they're
Right.
like, sorry, I got to leave. I love you, but I got to leave. I can't live like this. And that is just so heartbreaking, because it's like, y'all are good, great, fantastic people. And it's just this thing that we've never learned how to do, that breaks relationships.
Yeah, that actually brings me to the next question I got written down. Actually, it's kind of funny you just brought that up. So, what conversations do you think couples try to avoid for such a long time, and why?
We don't speak from a place of needs. And this is Marshall Rosenberg's work in nonviolent communication. He speaks of needs, but you could replace it with values of what, we married, hopefully, for those values that we have. Sometimes as we evolve our strategies for meeting like I have such a deep need for fun and play, and that might have been going out and getting pissed and partying and dancing and whatever, and now it might be yoga and meditation and mountain biking or whatever that fills my soul in that way. And so our strategies change and evolve, and what we don't talk about is the misalignment. The conversation that doesn't happen is when I feel something that I don't talk about, when I feel a frustration, a sadness, a loneliness, a resentment within me, and I don't talk about it, that's what starts to create the rift. And those are the same scary conversations that I talked about. So we push it down. No, it doesn't bother me. No, it doesn't bother me. I'll just go out to the garage and, look at the engine, have a couple pints or something. But it builds in us. It builds in us, and then we are at this place where we can't even look at that person. There's such a frustration and annoyance, a resentment within us, right? Us, them, or they, us, or both. And so it's really like getting attuned to when my need for connection, for support, for love, for alignment, for honesty, whatever those needs might be. And again, we were never taught the language of these needs. And so what I want is this from you. I want more sex. I want dinner on the table at 6. I want my kids not to talk back to me. And those are wants. Underneath those are our needs. And so that might be a need for connection. And what are the different strategies that would meet my need for connection then? Well, it doesn't mean I need to have sex 5 times a week or something, right? That can look differently. And if there's an openness on our part to address it from a needs base versus you need to do this thing for me so that I will have a better experience, then we've got a better shot at it happening, because we can guilt people, and we do, into that, right? You don't know my story. You don't know what I'm living with. You know how hard I'm doing. All I'm looking for is a little affection when I get home, And it's like, and that can work for a while until it doesn't.
Yeah, I think you hit a nail on the head with that one, in my opinion.
To be real, not my experience, of course.
I've had that experience, and that's why I was like, oh wow, I just realized this. It doesn't happen anymore, but it's like, wait a minute, that makes sense. That was me.
100%, man. Yeah, well, I dare to say we all go through it,
And that's something else that you said as well, as you put emotions are information. And that's not something that most responders were taught growing up, as you said. Actually, none of us really are. We were always taught, like we've been saying this whole episode, is we ignore it, push it down, stay productive. So when you do start slowing it down enough to actually pay attention to yourself, to pay attention to your family, I think, and you can correct me and build on this, but I think that the slower you go to it, the faster you're able to build yourself back up to where you need to be.
Slower you go toward what?
To build yourself back. So, like, say, for instance, we were just talking about the wants versus needs. So, just to start with something like that at home, if you're not doing it all now, maybe once, twice a week to start out with. Start slow.
Communication.
Right, and just start building.
100%. Yeah, I know, like, everything we've talked about here can be, it's the right audience drinking from the fire hose, but it's a really great point that the one thing, if we can have that self-empathy, if we can just start there, Chris, of just the noticing what's going on for me, and I can, again, blanket statement, but I'm going to say 95% of the time, what I need first is calm. And if I can find strategies, that because it's that emergency response, my amygdala is going off saying you need to run or you need to fight, then or you need to pretend that everything's okay. That if we can just sit with the emotions, if we can be aware, and there's lists of emotions online that are free and easy access. You can get the emotion wheel, is really cool, and just try to name the emotion just for fun. Make a game of it. It's like, what was that emotion? Because we also name our thoughts as emotions. Well, I think he's just disrespecting me. That's not an emotion, that's a thought. If we have to put like that or like or as though, I feel as though you don't trust me. Not a feeling, that's a thought. And so when I think that you don't trust me, how do I feel? Oh, I feel frustrated, or I feel lonely, or I feel scared, you know? I feel that you're an asshole. It's also not a feeling, it's a thought. When I think that you're an asshole, I actually, I feel frustrated, or I feel despondent or something. And so emotions are one word. There's an emoji for it, and so pull up your wheel, and that's such a great place to start. And then know that the first thing you're going to need to do is find calm, and try to do that in a way that's not harm, that's not shopping or gambling or porn or smoking or drinking, but maybe push-ups or a breath or a walk in the forest or playing with your kids, or playing with the dog, throwing the frisbee, whatever. Find ways to bring yourself back into your body so that you calm your nervous system. And now that you're calm, you can look back at the situation. You can ask yourself, so what would the courageous conversation be right now about a clear expression of what just happened? When you said that thing, I realized that, my first thought was that you don't respect me, but now that's arguable, you see? If I talk about thoughts, it's arguable. No, that's not true. I didn't raise my voice, blah, blah, blah. But if I say, I felt annoyed, or I felt sad, nobody can argue that. They may judge you, but, and then we can, I don't want to go too deep, because I know we want to keep this practical and actionable, but yeah, that first comes self-awareness and empathy, which is like doing the thing that's going to calm me. And second is the courageous conversation.
And I might again be wrong, but on that side, do you think a lot of people don't do that because they're scared, because they've never done it, and it's a fear that, like, I haven't done it, so I'm scared to do it. It's going to be a first time, but then once they do it, they're like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah. You nailed it. And I think, like, what percentage of your audience is going to hear this and say, oh yeah, Google, wheel of feelings. And they're going to,
I'm actually doing that later.
and then they're going to print that. And then they're going to, next time they're frustrated or annoyed, they're going to pull that out and they're going to actually do it. We're getting smaller and smaller percentages with every action that it takes for us to do it. Because as uncomfortable as it is, the familiar is easier for us. And so we'll live in the pain instead of taking action on the thing that could change it all, which is the unfortunate side of our culture and being human. It's just like we go with what's familiar. We call it our comfort zone, but it's not even comfortable.
Yeah, I've never understood that term.
Really? Yeah, and it is as well that it's scary to have a conversation of something that's really damn important to us, and we don't know how it's going to end up, and every time I tried to bring it up before, they react in this way, and so it always seems worse because I haven't had the skills to keep going in it, and so, oh shit, that didn't work. Push it down for another 3 weeks, 3 months, 6 months. And then we erode until we explode.
So Damn, you have me thinking now. If you could change one thing in the first responder culture, because as you said, your brother's a first responder, your bunch of your friends are first responders. What do you think it would be that you could change almost immediately? Really, not the motivational posters, not the bullshit. Oh, here's a pizza party.
Yeah.
But a real change.
That's cool. I've been thinking about that, because it's a big ship to turn, right?
Yeah.
I think, you, we all like challenge, we all like gamification and stuff. It's like, is there something that we can do that allows us to practice naming our emotions? Is there, the suggestion box where, you can't tell who put it in or whatever? Can we, at the end of the shift, can we write a note of what was the hardest thing and how that made us feel? Um, uh, and then maybe like what's it called, Chris Kringle, or the Secret Santa thing. We pull one out and we read someone else's message. I think just developing a real culture about honest shares, however the heck we can do that. When I go in, it's easy to do and facilitate something like this, and the conversation, people can open up just like that because, oh, we've got a guy here, this is what he does. But if it doesn't continue within, if there isn't someone that is continuing to keep that alive, then it quickly just disappears and dissipates. So I think the most important thing, yeah, if my heart were to choose, it's just to courageously open up to someone, just one person who loves you, and again, that could be your mom, or it could be that friend on shift, and just share something real that's going on for you, and you can preface it with that exactly, Chris, I got something going on for me, and I would love your support. And if that is just listening without responding and not reacting, that is perfectly fine. But I just have stuff that I want to share. Would you be open to that?
And that's a big ask for people, in my opinion, too. But as we just said, that would be a major shift, a major change, and a major relief, and in my opinion, to a lot of people, especially command staff, for instance. I don't think a lot of command staff remembers where they were when they started. I think they have almost been brainwashed, if you will, on a certain way to think now. Um, Not all of them.
Yeah.
So, but I think something like that, to be able to speak to a command staff, or to be able to, a chief, a captain, a sergeant, whatever, what have you. I think that would be the biggest fucking ability in the end,
Yeah.
to do it, because that would help them. It would help you. It would also help build from the top down a better understanding, a better culture, as we were saying earlier. Um, and that to me is bigger than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And like you say, that can be the scariest. So unless that relationship with that captain or commander or whatever is that, you don't have to go there first. Like I said, go to that person who you trust, loves
Right.
you unconditionally, has your back. If you're the person receiving it, please just say yes, absolutely. And don't you can share, like, yeah, I can absolutely relate, but don't try to one up the story, well, that's nothing. You should hear how bad my relationship is, because that just sort of diminishes what the person just said. Um, you,
Yeah.
you can ask what they need, what would help right now. And they're likely going to just say, this already has, and just tell them, come to me anytime. That it gives me chills. That conversation saves lives, Chris.
I agree, and it really does. It's something that should happen more frequently. We should not live in the state of mind of, as we were saying the whole damn episode, of, push it down, don't worry about it. And just talking to one person every now and then is such a relief to your own health, and you opening up to them may actually help them understand better. And that's the other thing is, as you were saying earlier, the judgment part. They may not be judging you; they may be judging themselves. Like, hey, and once you open, hey, they may judge me. It could be the same exact thing, but once you open up to them, they'll understand, and then they'll properly understand how to vent, and that creates harmony in yourself, the calm in the storm, if you will. And like you said, the calmness is what all of us need. Um, and that does that. It helps build that. We all have to have certain building blocks to start.
Yeah, that's it, man. And the statistics show it, like having just one person with whom we can share honestly, it changes the statistics of mental health.
Oh yeah, drastically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one last question: if someone's listening to this alone, either tonight on shift or during the day on shift, maybe they're just sitting in the truck, or staring at the damn ceiling like I've done before at 2 o'clock in the morning. They're just functioning while at work, but they're quietly falling apart everywhere else. What do they need to hear from you today?
We've said it a number of times as well. You're not broken. You're not alone. And there is a way to heal and move beyond this. And so reach out and receive. Take that courageous second. Don't let it continue, please. For your life, for the legacy and the relationships around you, for the people you serve on shift, but foremost, just for yourself, so that you can have more fun, more joy. Find that freedom in yourself by being authentic. Like that's what breaks people, is just not being able to share. And
Yeah.
that we just break down on the inside. So take those deep breaths. Think through, who can I talk to? How can I open that conversation with, I want to tell you something. Can you receive it without judgment? And just take action. It's time. You're worth it.
Very much so. Very much so. So, if people want to follow your word, reach out, learn more about you or your processes, how could they find you? Where can they find you?
Instagram is Fun Road to Freedom. And that's like that same concept we've been sharing, right? Is like freedom's out there somewhere, but I'm going to have fun on the way.
I love it.
It's Trevor Bryce Stevenson on LinkedIn. And the website, just trevorstevenson.com, will take you to all the stuff. And let me be one of those people you reach out to, please, if you don't know who else to reach out to. I'm always ready to receive, and I'd love to connect and support.
I love it.
If you think it's too heavy to say it anyway. It beats a eulogy. You don't have to apologize for surviving however you can. You're not the reason things are heavy. You're the reason they're still moving. Need support right now? Reach out to me. Reach out to somebody. Text or call 988 or visit 988lifeline.org. You're not alone. Not in this job. Not in this fight. Want to share your story or connect? Visit critical-run.com or message the Facebook page, Dispatched and Dysfunctional. We're building this for you, for them, for all of us.